So here I am with a video on Chiron retrograde for 2022. I want to start by first just briefly explaining the retrograde, what it actually means from an astronomical point of view. And then I will basically walk through the Chiron or 3 points of Chiron's retrograde cycle, which is when Chiron stations retrograde, when Chiron hits its peak retrograde cycle, and then when it stations direct. And this is going to be more of a collective perspective. However, this is actually going to be significant for you if you have your natal Chiron, so where Chiron was when you were born, which will be shown in your birth chart. If you have Chiron in any of the cardinal signs, so that's Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, as well as if you have Chiron in Taurus or Gemini, you might feel this Chiron cycle a little bit more strongly than, say, anyone who doesn't have those placements. Okay, so let's first just go over the astronomy perspective on retrograde planets. And so being that Chiron is on the outside orbit of Earth, right? So it's considered to be an outer planet, even though it's not a planet per se. However, what this means is that when Chiron appears to go retrograde, it is closer to Earth in its orbit, and essentially Earth is moving faster, or Earth does move faster than Chiron, and so it is passing by Chiron. Like, so if Chiron's here, Earth is moving this way, catches up, and as it moves forward, Chiron appears to move retrograde. And so how this comes out for an actual retrograde cycle astrologically is that I believe that the energy or the frequency of that particular planet or its influence, it hits a little bit more intensely because we are closer to that planet at that time. So that is why retrograde cycles tend to be experienced a little bit more intensely than when the planet is in its direct apparent motion. Also with this as well, this is a point in which we're changing our orientation. So naturally, with retrograde cycles, that is the goal, that is the direction, or the focus is changing your orientation. And usually with that retrograde aspect, it is a review, or it's a reflection or retrospective perspective where we are looking in internally or reviewing what has, happened or come up over the past, say, since the previous retrograde cycle. And so I wanted to share with you just that astronomical and the astrological significance of Chiron retrograde in general. Then retrograde. Chiron station retrograde on July 19th, and it will station direct on December 23rd. Chiron station retrograde at 16 degrees of Aries. And so when I'm looking at a retrograde cycle, I am trying to get an overview of what this actually means or how this might manifest for us collectively. I like to look at what is happening at that exact moment when the planet stations retrograde. And when a planet stations retrograde, essentially it appears to be sitting still or standing still. Therefore, it's holding its power or holding that intention at that moment in which it retrogrades, or when it stations retrograde or direct. And so again, I like to look at what is happening at that moment in time. And so when Chiron station retrograde on July 19th, this is, again, Chiron was at 16 degrees. Chiron was in alignment, or what we say as conjoined, to the moon. And so right away, it's very, very close, within less of a degree in conjunction. And so right away, when I see this Chiron in conjunction with the moon, it is very, very personal to us collectively here. And there's an element of embodiment, what we hold within our body. And also there's that emotional capacity to that. And a lot of us know that when we do experience some kind of illness or dis-ease, it first will show up emotionally, or it is tied in with the emotions, or it's tied in with the mind, and then it shows up as a physical manifestation. One thing I should point out too is Chiron's signature, or what Chiron symbolizes in the chart in itself. So there are three keywords that I denote to Chiron. It is rejection, wounding, and chronic. So the rejection aspect is basically the dismissive nature of that dis-ease. So either, your environment dismisses the significance, or it's out of awareness, or someone in your life, or even you yourself dismisses that particular dis-ease. And so then with the wounding, that is that trauma and that pain point signature. And then the chronic is the ongoing experience of this dis-ease, and really digging deep within that and unlocking, honestly, the gift that is held within your Chiron placement, that is held within your pain and suffering and wounding experience. So I just wanted to make that clear on Chiron's symbolism in the chart. So moving forward, Chiron, again, when it's stationed retrograde on July 19th at 16 degrees, with that conjunction to the moon, there is, in addition to the embodiment aspect, there is this intention or this focus of initiation, of a new beginning, of a transition. And this is due to this station and this conjunction happening in Aries. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. Therefore, there is a focus on something new, something beginning, a new cycle happening. And collectively with Chiron and Aries, this has definitely been coming through as innovation within the healing environment, or within how we heal ourselves, how we heal the planet, and so forth, or heal our connection to the planet. So we are looking to really make some pioneer moves here in regard to these healing modalities, in regard to just innovative techniques and practices. And obviously this will begin with our own experience, and then we'll share that with our communities, and we'll see that happen on a collective level. And so with Chiron stationing retrograde in conjunction to the moon, there's an embodiment element. How do we embody these healing modalities? What is it? How do we show up in our creative ways when it comes to healing? And when I say this, I'm already thinking about sound healing and just different other techniques that are even proven scientifically to work. However, it's not really the tradition. It's not the status quo type of healing. And so that is something that is going to be reflected upon during this retrograde cycle. Also, when Chiron station retrograde, Jupiter is also in Aries, very close to Chiron at this time. And Jupiter is actually stationing it's slowing down to station retrograde here a week after Chiron stations retrograde. So with Jupiter co-present, there's a focus on philosophy, our philosophy and beliefs regarding healing and our healing practices collectively. There's also a wanting to dig deeper, get a deeper meaning to what even this healing or this dis-ease, this imbalance is that we are experiencing right now collectively, and of course, individually. And so with Jupiter in Aries, there is this vibe of like, let's just go for it. Let's just do it. Let's just like expand and make these bold moves. However, most importantly, we want to look at Mars, because Mars is the ruler of Aries. So we want to get an idea of Mars is a bit in control of what's going on in its home of Aries, even though it's not there. Mars is in Taurus. And this is why if you have any personal planets, I don't know if I said personal planets, I think I just said your natal Chiron placements, but if you have any personal planets as well in the cardinal signs or in Gemini and Taurus, you will feel this as well. This is why I spoke to Taurus, because Mars during Chiron's retrograde, station retrograde, Mars is in Taurus, and its intentions, excuse me, its intentions and actions are slowed down a bit. And with this slower movement, while Mars is like kind of just treading through this like fixed earth of Taurus, it is getting closer and closer to meeting with Uranus, which as this energy kind of builds up and charges itself up, there's going to be a breakthrough when Mars reaches Uranus, right? And I see this is indicating a slow movement leading to a breakthrough within the healing, within our healing capabilities, right? And so this is really significant, and this is setting an imprint for this Chiron retrograde cycle for 2022. Next point in time, moving forward, on October 7th of 2022, Chiron will reach its peak in its retrograde cycle, or its halfway point, and this is denoted by its opposition to the sun. So the sun will be in Libra at 14 degrees. Chiron will be in Aries at 14 degrees during its peak of the cycle. And so essentially, what is happening during this time? Okay, so getting a snapshot of the cosmic climate when Chiron has its exact opposition. What I like here is that the sun and Venus are pretty much very closely almost aligned, almost conjoined. They will a little bit later. And so I didn't speak to the sun and Venus. I can't believe I forgot that, but the sun and Venus, back when Chiron stationed retrograde, was in square to Chiron stationing retrograde. And with this square, this is the most significant theme. So how did I not remember to say this? But the square of Chiron to the sun and Venus in Cancer, it is really bringing to light the awareness of the lack of nurture and the need for support when it comes to our wounding, our collective wounding, whatever's coming up, whatever's out of balance, whatever is at dis-ease, there is an awareness. That is what we're sitting with. We're like, this really needs our nurture. This really needs care, love, and support. That is the major theme of Chiron retrograde for 2022. And so I can't believe I didn't say that. But moving forward to the peak of Chiron's retrograde cycle, Chiron is in opposition, direct, exact opposition to the sun, which marks the peak or the halfway point of the cycle. And then the sun is conjoined by a difference of 4 degrees. So there's an orb of 4 degrees. Venus is at 10 degrees of Libra. Sun is at 14 degrees. So Venus has a very important role again. However, Venus is a little bit, it's not as strong as it could be because it is essentially combust, like the sun is overpowering Venus. So I feel like there's going to be more of that divine intelligence coming through that is speaking, like this channeled light coming through, that you might just like, it might be in very quick, you might just feel it, whatever psychic sense is dialed up for you or dialed up for us collectively at that time, that'll click first. And then Venus, as Venus gets closer to its exact alignment with the sun, that is when that Venus aspect will then be gifted with that divine intelligence, with that power. But at this time when Chiron reaches its peak in the retrograde cycle, the goal here is there's an illumination of that healing gift of whatever is entangled, whatever is at the center of the wounding, collective wounding here, whatever's coming up at this time, that is going to be illuminated. So there just might be an aha moment here for us collectively of what is really at stake here, what is really suffering, what that pain point is. There's going to be an uncovering and a deep understanding of the pain point. And Venus as soon will align with the sun, and there will be this realization of how to balance that out, how to nurture it, how to care for it, how to love that, how to move away from the extremes. So in addition to this, reflecting on Mars, at this time, Mars is now in Gemini, and Mars is slowing down to retrograde. It will retrograde at the end of October. And so I like that Mars is in Gemini and it's actually slowing down because it is in a supportive connection, having a supportive connection to Chiron retrograde. And so that sextile supportive, so it's there. And then it is in a creative, harmonious connection with the sun and Venus. So that is also really important. So what is happening with Mars and Gemini slowing down to retrograde, we're really getting these different perspectives here on what it is that we desire, or even just different perspectives on how to act on our desires, how to act on what is coming through, what we're experiencing, what we're reflecting upon. Okay. So then we want to move forward to the last point, or important day for Chiron's retrograde cycle. So the third and final important time for Chiron's retrograde cycle is when it stations direct on December 23rd. There is a lot happening on this day, but I will say when Chiron stations direct, Jupiter has already stationed direct, and Jupiter will be at 0 degrees of Aries at this time. Whenever there's something, there's an important day, there's an alignment happening, a planet stationing direct, and then I see a planet sharing, say, essentially Jupiter and Chiron are sharing the home of Aries, and seeing Jupiter at 0 degrees, it gives me this insight of there is a channel, there's a channel opening, or like a portal. If you think about just a 0, what that even looks like, or if you're drawing a circle, that's opening up a channel, that's opening up a portal. And then also that vibration of 0 is there's infinite possibilities, in the same sense that here we are with a blank canvas. Here we are with this ability to channel in what it is that we desire to execute some specific intention. Like here we are at the very beginning. What are we going to do with this? And with Jupiter, again, there's a deep philosophy, there's a deep understanding, there's a desire to connect to that one truth, or essentially in this case, I would say natural truth, natural law, natural truth, or universal truth. How do we connect to that and create from that, right? So we're opening up our perspectives. We're getting a broader perspective, and we're going to essentially create from that, right? And so that's really specific and really significant to the end of Chiron's cycle, right? And how we're going to move forward. So in addition to that, we have the new moon in Capricorn happening less than an hour after Chiron stations direct. The moon and the sun will be at 1 degree of Capricorn. And this is really significant because Capricorn is at in a square, in a conflicting or dynamic connection with Chiron and Aries. So this is really a push past a threshold, a push out of our comfort zone, breaking through, so that we can expand and evolve and grow. And so I like that the sun and the moon are at 1 degree. So here's just vibrationally, it's like 1 being a beginning again. Then we also have several other planets in Capricorn. There's a lot happening. We have Venus at 16 degrees. We have Mercury at 21 degrees. And so here it's like all hands on deck to really create a new structure around this healing modality, around our innovative ideas of how to really heal, nurture, and support this pain point, support this trauma, so that we can transmute it and really bring it back into flow, bring it back into balance. And so again, I love that Venus has such an important role here, again, being that Chiron is what we would say is applying to Venus. Its next connection, its next exact connection is going to be with Venus in Capricorn. So that's really significant. And finally, at this time, Mars is actually retrograde in Gemini at 10 degrees. So very closely, this would still be a sextile, right, to Chiron stationing retrograde, off by a degree. And so again, we're getting some supportive insight of how we're going to act on our desires, what ideas are really sustainable, what will support us in this new innovative way of healing the collective and of course individually. So let me just review my notes here just to see if I hit every point. Yeah, I do like the sun, Jupiter, and Venus were all present in those 3 important days, those 3 important points of Chiron's retrograde cycle. So Jupiter and Venus are traditionally considered to be the benefics. They're the good doers of the planetary energy. Although I feel that all the planets, they're pretty neutral in a sense too. That's for a different discussion. But then we have the sun there, that divine intelligence also present, you know, and of course it's going to be present at the peak of Chiron's retrograde cycle, because that is really what determines a planet hitting its peak, whether it's in opposition to the sun or a conjunction to the sun, if it's Mercury or Venus. And then, but the sun didn't have to be there in the beginning in Cancer, and it didn't have to be there in the end in Capricorn. So I thought that was really significant. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, comments, please leave them below. I am teaching a class here on August 5th that is going to walk you through how to decode Chiron in your own birth chart. So if you want to see how Chiron is manifesting in your own life, or learn and reflect and dig deeper with your own Chiron placement, definitely sign up for that class. You can get all that information in the sign up link in the description below this video. Again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for supporting. Please like and subscribe to my channel if this resonates with you. And I hope you have a really good Chiron retrograde cycle. Take care.